G'day, it's Monday the 13th of December 2021, and this is a video link for all the psychology buffs, the people into the I guess the way this is all working, how it's moving, and how it's affecting people and why it's affecting people in a certain way. Recently I brought you a link to an interview with Meredith Miller with Rainer Fulmer, and I was talking about the abusive relationship basically between government and citizens right now. This one today I find profoundly more interesting. It's with Mattias Desmet. He's a Dutch social psychologist, I believe, and he's speaking on the mass formation or mass psychosis. So before the interview was on like more of an individual effect level. This one is on the conditions of society and why this has occurred before and why it's likely not to stop before it ends up in a totalitarian nightmare, because he goes into the percentages of people who are susceptible to things such as mass formation or mass psychosis, to the point where there'll be a situation, a psychological state form in the group where they'll become a cult. They'll need ritual, even though it's absurd, because they've had a preconditioned mindset, which he says there's 4 things. There's they have a floating anxiety, which they can't pin on anything, and society is generally like that. And they have also a meaningless state, a meaningless view of life. Their job they find meaningless. They have there's a few more things: potential for anger, and then the outcome basically is they get rewarded by group mentality and become positive rather than negative, but then channel all that hate against the awake group. So fascinating interview. It's just over an hour. I suggest, if you're into the psychology of things and why things probably won't change, and if you're a believer in the biblical prophetical outcome of this, it's pretty dire before it gets better. So I'm not really interested in his potential outcome of the few awake that might awake more, but why it's occurring. And so fascinating interview. And yeah, it's only going to get more trippy, all the things they bring in by the sounds of things, because the bigger the lie, like Goebbels said, maybe he said the more you repeat it, the more it'll take hold. But this one is it's almost like the bigger the lie, the more effective it is, and the more absurd the measures become. The 30% or so that he says are in the group that just fully go along with it and become ambassadors almost for it. They will become more indoctrinated by the more weird it gets, and the more they become group minded and think they feel positive about themselves and meaningful now, then they'll channel more of that hate against the outsider group who's speaking up. So yeah, fascinating. Go check it out. The link is it's a YouTube link. I'll be surprised if it stays up long term, but anyway, it'll be down below.